On guard!
Oh.
And we have Shining Sex from actually shot in 1975. Didn't get a release until 1977. A French-Belgian production, directed by Jesus Franco, or Jess Franco to his fans. I'm guessing this was a first Jess Franco film for you?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Jess Franco does have a cult following.
Are all of his movies like this?
Well, I mean, he was a prolific director. He directed close to or just over 200 films or something like that from like the 50s through to he died in the late 90s. And he had different periods. So there's certainly more like this, I guess, but they wouldn't all be like this because he was knocking around for so long. But it is a good it is a good example of a Jess Franco film, I would say.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, we don't really have the it's a big topic. So I would recommend these two books.
Jess Franco is or Shining Sex is?
Jess Franco.
Oh, okay. Jess or Jesus?
Jesus Franco, yeah.
Oh, they said Jess.
People call him Jess.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Murderous Passions, which is volume 1, with the lovely Lena Romay from Shining Sex on the cover. That's not from Shining Sex, though. And Flowers of Perversion, which is volume 2.
And these are just, sorry, just to let this audio podcast understand.
Oh yeah, shit! I forgot.
You're holding up books and showing.
Yes,
things.
I'm showing up. I showed up. Murderous Passions, Flowers of Perversion. Stephen Thrower's 2-volume look at the entire filmography and career of Jesus Franco.
Okay.
So he's this film is a kind of good example of this. So I think the thing with Jesus Franco is he is the epitome of an acquired taste.
Right.
I think. So for instance, you have to. I mean, my history with Jess Franco is similar to a lot of his fans, I think. Whereas when you first were introduced to Jess Franco, you were like, "This is some of the worst films I've ever seen in my." I mean, this guy is just awful. And then somehow you go from that into getting obsessed with the man and trying to watch all of his 200 odd films. It's kind of like a weird all or nothing kind of effect.
Meaning you actually go from one to the other, or you are one or the other.
Well, I suppose if you don't acquire the taste, then no, I don't think I very few people I think will take to him immediately, because it is a kind of unpalatable, I think, if you're not really attuned to, you tell me, because this is your first Jess Franco film, right?
So how many of the 200 have you seen?
Oh, not 30, 40.
Oh, so not a lot?
No. I've got a long way to go. But these books are great. The Stephen Thrower books are excellent. They're really good. He's very good at articulating what it is that makes them kind of, he's good at kind of pointing you in the right direction and giving you a context. So they're essential reading, really. In and of themselves, they're great reads. But if you're interested in the world, get it, because you'll know it's one of those things. It's like, you might watch a Jess Franco film and think, for fuck's sake, what the hell is this? But there's a little tickle, there's a little itch at the back of your brain, which sometimes when something is so difficult to get into, sometimes that sparks the interest, right? Because you're like, what is this? Rather than if something's just boring. Or so I feel as if many a Jess Franco fan began as a Franco hater or someone who just dismissed.
How about yourself? Where are you on the spectrum?
Well,
on the
I'm
journey?
obsessed now. I will be watching all of his films. I've
just recently become obsessed, or you have been?
Within the past few years, I got the bug.
Okay.
These
Did you start as a hater?
yeah, I think so.
What was the first one you saw?
Not full on hate, but just like I don't get it. Like he's just a bloke who made many dodgy films, and that's not good enough, kind of thing. Would have been the attitude, right? Like,
what was the first one you saw?
The first Jess Franco film I saw. I'm not sure actually, but oddly enough, one of the first Franco films I would have seen would have been Shining Sex.
Okay.
And the first time I saw it, yes, I would have. I wouldn't have been getting on with it at all. I mean, I would have slightly admired its audacity, maybe, but yeah, I certainly would have had it down as, just monumentally terrible, right?
Really, I pegged this movie as being right up your alley.
Now, yes.
Oh, now, okay.
Yeah.
So you haven't always liked movies like this?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh, so you became perverted.
Say again.
So you became perverted. You weren't born perverted.
Well, I mean, there's different. I mean, I suspect when you say these kind of films, you slightly have some. I think you have some things in that category I wouldn't put in the same category. But I've probably always liked dodgy films, but I think this is a specific. I mean, this is, I think you have to get promoted to become a Jess Franco fan, right? You have to put in work at the coalface. This is,
okay.
Because it is like I said, I think an acquired taste, but I guess we'll get to you for more on that. So plot then, give this a go. There's an erotic dancer, stripper, as played by Lina Romay, Franco's longtime partner and muse, and she's putting on a show which is called the Shining Sex, right? And then a couple approach her, and I guess she assumes that they want to take her home for a three-way, and she's quite a vivacious kind of happy-go-lucky type of woman at first, isn't she? She's very
very bubbly and
yeah. And so she goes back with them to their place. Played by Evelyn Scott and Ramon Nardid, I think. And yes, she proceeds to have sex with her first, and then immediately. Well, the thing, it takes a long time, right, for the film to clue you into actually what's going on. So, but clearly after that first encounter, something starts going wrong with Lina Romay's character, right? She seems to be in some sort of weird trance or something, or she's kind of somewhat catatonic, and also as this is going on, there's Jess Franco himself plays a wheelchair bound guy who seems, I don't know, he's like the Van Helsing of the piece or something.
He's literally called Dr. Seward, right? So I mean, like
right. So and he's like, what's that now? And I'm not quite sure if he's hearing things or psychic connection, but him and his sidekick Boris know there's something wrong with this woman played by Lina Romay, and because since she's made contact with this couple, there's something wrong. We're not quite sure what, but there's lots of weird shit going on the soundtrack, the Daniel White soundtrack, which I think is one of the strong points of the film. I think the soundtrack's fantastic. It's got lots of different things going on at different periods, but it's all quite fascinating and very evocative, and whistling winds, and you don't know what's going on, but you just get a sense of dread, right? Something's going on. And then and yeah, and then she goes off and she meets this woman. She's like, she's a played by Monica Swin. She's like a psychic or like a what a medium or something, right? And she tells her, oh, there's something wrong, or you've made contact with some people, and then she ends up seducing and killing her character, right? And then there's a series of characters which she seems to have been sent off by this couple, the woman being referred to as, she's Alpha, right, I guess.
Right, yeah.
And then the guy turns out to be also another human under her control, right? He talks about being on a boat or something, and like a fog descending or something, and then he was a prisoner of her, and he
sort of enslaves to her, whatever.
Yeah, and he has to pleasure her and has sex with her. And Lena Romay seems to be sent out to seduce different characters who are getting too close to the truth, to knowing who these people are, who they seem to be like interdimensional beings or aliens.
Somebody in a dimension. So different. She's from another dimension.
Yeah, and she even goes to Africa at one point. Apparently, she goes to Africa on like a paddle. This is all shot in the south of France. Really interesting locations, actually, in architecture, and Franco does like people walking against interesting architecture better than anyone else. I think this is just a long walking through weird like Art Deco places, and come the end, and her body seems to get more and more. She gets like some weird like blue stains or something on, which get more and more glittery, and which also there's an awful lot of close-ups of her shaved pussy as well, like a lot of those.
I thought this movie should be called Vagina Zoom. It's
Vagina
just like
Zoom.
It's like every 2 minutes is zooming on her vagina.
and it's like, I mean, it's funny because this would have originally played in hardcore theaters as well, I think, when it was new, but I can't imagine anyone who had gone to see a porn film really getting off on this, because I mean, it's only borderline hardcore. There are some non-simulated scenes, but only like you don't see much in the way of penetration, and there's no cum shots or stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of
lesbian.
And there's a lot of nudity and a lot of sex, but it's not. I mean, it does cross over. It's technically hardcore, but only just right, only just hardcore. And then by the end of the film, she's like kind of totally covered in this glittery stuff, and she looks almost like, there's something actually quite oddly, weirdly disturbing about the way she looks at the end of it, just like convulsing and covered in this weird glittery shit. And there's something really sad about it. Like I felt quite sorry for her. And then she dies. Spoiler. You're not really I mean, it's not it's not confusing exactly, because they do explain that there is a kind of story there, but it's a very slim kind of narrative. And then it's like, so people talk about Franco, they talk about him, one of the analogies they often make, Franco, full on Franco, because like I said, he's got this long career, and some films he was, as like a hack, he was asked to make things, to be successful, and they were commercial, and then he made more personal films. This is definitely a more personal film, right? And it's him as like people make the analogy, he's like a jazz musician, like he riffs, like he has a few, he's got these kind of pulp fiction kind of obsessions he's got, which he comes back to again and again, and he does these endless kind of riffs, if you can imagine, like trumpet solos or something, like on the same thing again and again. Like there's other films that he's made which have similar ideas, and so this feels very much like him taking a very slim kind of idea. Okay, interdimensional being, and it's just gonna kill a pussy or something, or and then and then just playing it for like, it feels kind of almost like it was shot in sequence or something, like kind of ad-libbed, and just they grabbed what they could get, and he's like jazz riffing on this kind of idea, and it's very much kind of made up as he goes along, right? But it's very pure. I think it's pure Franco. Now, whether you think that's pure horse shit or pure,
what do you mean by pure? In what can you define what you mean by that?
I mean, I feel it's entirely unencumbered by any. I think he's just followed his muse entirely, right? Like he hasn't second guessed it. He hasn't thought too much about
His
it.
muse meaning his sort of symbolic muse, or literally Lena Rome?
Both, I think. I think she would have embodied both for him, and and I think it's just it's just purely from his id, right? It's just straight from his id to the screen. Via Lena
Stream of consciousness.
Yeah, there's something about it which is just, and so the thing is then is whether you go with it. And like I said, so when I first saw this film, I think I saw it in a shorter version, actually, and in a bad quality as well, way back in the day. But I wouldn't have. I mean, I would have just gone, well, weird ass movie, and that was it, right? I wouldn't have got anything else much out of it. I don't think I was sophisticated enough a viewer, and I hadn't acquired the taste. I just hadn't acquired the taste for it.
So you're saying that if anyone who doesn't like this is not sophisticated of a viewer? Yeah. I mean, for this, I mean, there's sophisticated ways for all. I mean, there's a lot of other things that I'm not sophisticated enough to get, right? Right.
But I feel as if I'm sophisticated enough to get this now. Like it's something, and I mean, and the thing is, I never would have programmed this had I not caught it for a second time a few years ago. Because, like I said, I didn't really. It was a film you'd bring up in conversation, for laughs. You'd be talking with cult movie fans, and what about Shining? Say, people, oh god, eye rolling kind of thing, right? But then when I was starting to kind of get Franco a little bit, I was just getting my fingers around the. And again, I'm not saying everything he's done is great. He has made some shit movies as well. But when I saw it again, and I thought, oh, hang on, I found it really quite interesting, and I was pretty confident that this time I think it would work its spell on me. So I thought, okay, I'm taking a bit of a risk. I could potentially be cheating. I might not really like this film and then forced around to watch film. But as it turned out, no, this time I found this utterly mesmerizing from beginning to. It shouldn't be. It's the weird thing, right? I mean, you could argue that not much happens at all, really. I mean, if you consider it a science fiction film, there's hardly anything. There's nothing in the way of special effects or anything like that. It's all what people say and what they do and the way they act. And like I said, the music does a lot of the heavy lifting. But I found it mesmerizingly strange and evocative, and I'm gonna watch it again a few more times. I think I really really found this film to be quite that is the word, I think, mesmerizing or hypnotic. Shot simultaneously with another film as well called Midnight Party, which I've not seen, but apparently very, very different. It's like but same locations and
okay.
Anyway, enough about me. Everyone knows I'm a weirdo. They want to know how Ron got on with.
I don't think anyone really cares, to be honest.
I care, Ron, and that's.
I don't think anyone's really listening. I mean, of course, I wouldn't say that I found it mesmerizing. I wouldn't have put it in my category, but I don't think I hated it as much as you expected me to. Or as I expected to too. I mean, I was sort of expecting, with the name Shining Sex, I was just expecting a hardcore. So
well, I try to avoid that because I felt like we've established before that you don't get on very well with hardcore anyway. So I didn't want to just,
That's too easy.
That's too easy. Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
wanted,
yeah.
and actually, it took a long time. It took me a while to choose this time as well. I had a bunch of different titles. It took me a while before I zeroed in on this one.
Okay, well, I appreciate that because by the time when you gave it to me and it was called Shining Sex, I just assumed that you were giving me a hardcore because you know that I don't really get on that much.
Yeah, no, 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 no,
Uh,
no.
so anyway, so to my surprise, it wasn't really. I mean, of course, there's lots of sex in it and stuff like that. So, but I mean, I mean, as you said, it's a thin story, but there's an attempt at a story, an
Mm,
attempt at a genre piece, and it's more than you would find in a typical porno, I guess, right? So,
mm.
it was, I mean, I guess trying to be like a proper sci-fi movie, right? So I mean, it's whether or not it succeeded is neither here nor there. But I mean, it was uh it was more palatable in that it was not what I expected, and it was more than I was expecting, I guess, right? So it was more of something else. So it was in a way sort of surprising. I thought, as you said, I thought the soundtrack was really good. I thought um, the set pieces were decent, right? It was okay, right? And I thought the acting, despite it being whatever it was, I thought Lena Romay was quite good actually. I thought she was she um had a what do you call it, like a range
Yeah.
going from where she started to where she finished. I thought she was a decent actress. I don't know what kind of, is she a hardcore actress, or what kind of actress is she usually?
Well, I mean, she has done hardcore, but not. I don't think she has done hardcore, but I wouldn't put. I don't think that would be her bread and butter. I think she's more just like an actress who doesn't have those boundaries. So if she's
Right,
asked to do it, she'd do it, kind of thing.
right, right. Okay.
No, no,
Yeah.
she is quite good in this. There's something, and of course we shouldn't overlook the obvious, hot and naked as well, which also
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I
helps.
mean, yeah, I mean, all the women in here are all relatively nice to look at. So I mean, I'm not gonna complain about looking at nice, nice looking women. And but I mean, she has decent acting chops too. So good for her. I mean, it was made it more palatable and easy to go. I could have used with a few less vagina zooms. I mean, I think, I get it. Okay, you like her vagina, but it was like, okay, yeah, okay, we're going under his vagina again. Oh, you're okay, we're doing it again. Okay, here we go. But I think generally speaking, it was, yeah, it was ambitious. I think it looked to me like someone who was, I mean, again, I don't know anything about, Jess Franco, but it looked to me like someone who was maybe like a hardcore director that was trying to break out or to do something a little different. Is that fair?
No, no, no.
No.
I
Okay.
mean,
Well, that's kind of the impression I got from it. So,
okay.
um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I certainly have no desire to watch it again, and I don't think I'm. It made me. I don't think I've acquired the Jess Franco taste as of yet. If I'm
Hmm.
sure you'll probably make me watch more at some point, but anyway, I think, I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
telling in itself. I mean,
yeah,
you got on with it better than when I did when I watched it first.
yeah,
So maybe
right, yeah.
you're slightly
I,
more.
I think I also kind of revel in disappointing you when you try to choose something that I specifically hate, right? So, yeah. So I mean, I think I was actively trying to enjoy it because I wanted to thwart you.
Mhm.
So I think probably that had something to do with it too. But I think if you had chosen it as like a normal uh choice, I think it probably would have gone on maybe less well with it, right? So, but
Were you okay with the running time? Because it's quite long for this
yeah,
kind.
yeah, yeah. As I said, it could have been edited. I think it was a little long, especially considering how thin the story was. But I mean, there were very long kind of sex scenes, but it was what it was. So it was.
Did
Um,
you at all find it at any, whether it was just snatches here and there? Did it have any kind of strangely hypnotic effect on you at any point? Like, did you find
I wouldn't say
it
it was very hypnotic. It
absorbed
was,
into it?
yeah. I mean, it was. You know, I mean, I wouldn't say it kept my attention the whole time. I was definitely, my focus wandered occasionally. It was
Okay, okay.
quite slow moving, I thought,
Yes,
right?
but
So,
it
but
is slow cinema, right?
yeah,
Definitely. But
yeah,
like I said, it's interesting though because it hasn't it doesn't seem to have actively repelled you.
yeah.
I was just wondering if it did sometimes have the opposite effect of sucking you in like it did with me, but you seem to be more uh, just in the middle, it seems.
Just kind of blasé. Yeah, it was just, yeah. I mean, it was. I get that kind of movie, right? So I understand what it is, right? So
right.
yeah,
So there you go. Maybe you there's hope for you yet, Ron. You might yet acquire.
maybe I'm pretending just because I don't want to be considered unsophisticated.
I don't think you care if I think you're unsophisticated.
Well, I guess we both failed this time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
there's a certain amount. You can learn
maybe,
failure, right?
yeah, we're both having our character arcs where
Right.
we're moving and we're meeting somewhere in the middle.
We're in the middle of Act 2.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention is I've never actually seen it about. I think it might be difficult to find. This was actually released. So the version we watched, the Blu-ray, is the long version. They've taken the English dub from another source, but it's the long version that actually did get released on video in Japan. I mean, I can't imagine what this looks like with the pixelation, seeing as so much like just yeah. I mean, it must be unwatchable for stretches of time, right?
It's just like a pixel. The whole screen is pixelated the whole time, right? So,
but I'm going to try and see if I can track it down, because I think maybe I was trying to figure this out, and I read the section in Stephen Ho's book, which is for each film, he doesn't just watch and critique the film, and he goes into all the different various versions from around the world, and it's they're tip-top books all the way. If you're into Franco, you probably own them both already, but
right.
Just in case any of you are on the fence about buying them, buy them before they go out of print and get really expensive, which they might already be. I don't know. I bought them when they were new, but So I think there's a few bits and pieces in the Japanese VHS that might not be. I'm not sure if this is everything, so I'm going to try and see if I can track that down. Anything else I wanted to mention? No, I mean, I could go on, but I don't see that it's really necessary. But no, interesting that we both didn't quite land the fatal blow that either of us expected.
That we thought we were getting. Yeah,
You were convinced I was dead, basically.
Well, you were convinced you were dead.
Yes, that's true. And I responded. I thought, Well, Ron.
More interestingly, what did you think I would hate about this movie? What did you think about this movie?
I just thought you would find it.
Well, knowing what you know about me and the things that I don't like, what about this movie said, okay, that's the movie that's, and you thought it was a low blow? Like, why did you think that was?
I thought you would just find it a tedious display of just nudity and nothing less. Like I didn't think you would take the time to try and latch on to if there was anything. I thought you would you would just you wouldn't even you wouldn't get on with it at all. You would.
I think for me, again, the thing that keeps my interest more is plot and character, which this made an attempt at, more than movies like, for example, Orgy of the Dead, or those other just nudie films, where they just sort of like, the nudity is the film, right? Which is, I find that sort of tedious. This one, it made an attempt at something. It was trying to go somewhere.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I think that's what saved it for me. I think
it's a totally different animal from Orgy of the Dead in all sorts of different. Even though I love Orgy of the Dead as well, and you don't so much, but yeah, no, they're not really comparable, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah. So well, anyway, both of us foiled again, but we'll try again. So I'm afraid
next year.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put up with each other for another year at least. And
well, I'm sure you'll find lots of other things that I'll hate this year. So I'm sure you have lots of successes along the whole year. So
no, I think you're overstating the case, and I don't do that. I don't choose films to try and annoy you. Don't be silly. Okay, I guess that's the end, buddy.
Don't be harsh in my buzz, buddy. See ya.
Back off, Ron.